पहले क्या था, all the big restaurants used to be in five-star hotels.
Right.
Then that restaurant revolution came and everybody started, from five-star hotels to really great standalone restaurants started propping up all over the country. And
Can you shed some light on the kind of projects that you have worked on?
of course, starting from very small food court counters all the way to some of the biggest restaurant brands, we have done everything. There is no clear-cut success ratio for any restaurant. I mean,
Okay.
if somebody tells you that I can guarantee a restaurant success, he or she is lying. I always tell my clients, it's like making a movie, right?
Yeah.
So you could have the best director, the best story, the best music, the best cast, and still the movie might not do well. And while a corner side shop, which is started very humbly, could really take off and become a multi-million-dollar business. One factor for a success of a restaurant, I would, without any hesitation, say the team. In the world, India is the fastest growing food business in the world.
A food consultant develops mouth-watering menus, streamlined kitchen operations, and create unforgettable dining experiences. There's so much one can learn from a restaurant owner, but nothing beats the on-ground experience of a food consultant who has worked with top restaurants, food brands, and entrepreneurs. Let's dig in and get ready to inspire your next culinary adventure. Hi Shibu, how are you?
I am fine, thank you, Vivita.
So we are very excited to know a lot of the details about food industry today from you.
Okay.
And firstly, I'd like to know, how did you get inspired to start your journey in food consulting?
Wow. See, I didn't intend to be here. This was not by choice or by design. I started out as a chef. Like most people, I did my hotel management and I went through the whole campus interviews and luckily, I got placed in organizations in my career which was in pre-opening stage. So these hotels that I work for, in the first couple of hotels that I work for, in fact, they were pre-opening stage. They had not opened yet. So they were still setting up the restaurants and other things. So as a young chef, I got that invaluable experience of, trying to set up a restaurant, what goes behind setting up of a restaurant, कितना मेहनत लगता है, कितना उसमें क्या-क्या, what are the things that we need to keep in mind while you
Right.
set up those restaurant. I think ये कोई कॉलेज में, स्कूल में कोई कोर्स नहीं है जिसको पढ़ाते हैं, how do you become a food consultant or a restaurant consultant. I think it is extremely experience based, and people, once they have put in X number of years in the industry, they feel they know enough to open restaurants on their own. It comes purely by experience. I was lucky that I got exposed to pre-opening restaurants in big hotels very early in my career. So as the career progressed, I became more and more intrigued, more and more fascinated with the fact of restaurants. And it was during this time, I think, पहले क्या था, all the big restaurants used to be in five-star hotels.
Right.
Then that restaurant revolution came and everybody started, from five-star hotels to really great standalone restaurants started propping up all over the country. And some fantastic properties started coming out. And people started recognizing freestanding restaurants as a very, very significant segment of the food industry. And that's when I think my intrigue got translated to a business idea. And I thought, why not get into setting up of this restaurant, because I already have experience in this area.
Right.
So there were a couple of people that I used to work with earlier. They were friends who had started consulting before me. I joined up with them, learned the tricks, worked with them for about 6-7 years, understood, opened about 100-200 restaurants in all over the country and overseas.
Oh, wow.
And yes, in about 30 cities in this country, we have opened restaurants. Maybe not 30, maybe 20.
Okay.
But most of the cities in our country we have opened. Some restaurants in Middle East, some even in UK. So I've spread, and it just started like that. And slowly, I've been lucky enough to get these interesting projects to do newer restaurants. And that's how I became a food consultant, a full-time job. I went into business in 2013
Yeah.
and started my company.
Right.
And here we are.
Oh, Can you shed some light on the kind of projects that you have worked on?
Of course, there's too many to remember right now. When you ask me, I'm drawing a blank actually, but there are so many of them. We've
Right.
starting from very small food court counters all the way to some of the biggest restaurant brands. We have done everything. If you ask me for some specific examples, I don't know which city to start with. Guwahati, for example,
Right.
Northeast, we have done some fantastic projects in Guwahati. There is a restaurant called Nuts and Brew, which is one of the Guwahati's first microbrewery that we've set up.
Yeah.
A few more, there is a restaurant brand called Rang De Basanti Dhabas based out of Kolkata that we've set up.
Wow.
We have done work with Underdogs as a sports bar brand in Delhi, NCR. We have also set up a very upmarket lifestyle restaurant called the Villa Maya in Trivandrum for the Muthoot Group. So there's a lot of restaurants that we have done over the years as a company, as a food consultants. I'm sure many of them are skipping my
Yeah.
brain right now. But yeah, if you come back to the list, I think there are maybe 200-300 restaurants that we've done
Oh, that's
of various sizes. Yes.
quite an experience. I believe that a particular restaurant owner might not have compared to the kind of experience that a food consultant gets working on the ground. I believe.
Yes. In fact, I firmly believe that restaurant industry is now rocket science. Setting up a restaurant is not something that requires a very high degree of skill. It's primarily the experience that counts. You know, to reach from point A when you're starting with the concept of a restaurant to reach point, let's say C or D or E, which is the end of the restaurant. That journey has a lot of variables. A consultant who's experienced in this and who's done these things before will be able to guide a client much better. That these are the things that you need to look out for, and basically, consultant's job is to take you from point A to point B, which is the finishing of the restaurant, in the shortest possible time and the smallest possible cost. In terms of cost and time, you save a lot of those. That's the expertise that a consultant brings into a restaurant. Otherwise, there are many homegrown brands that people have done on their own, and some of them are very successful too. Restaurant consultants' job is primarily to handhold a client, inform him beforehand about what are the things they need to look out for based on our experience. There are some restaurants that have done very well, some have not done very well. So you basically, my job would be to guide. It's more advisory, to advise my clients that this is what you should be doing, and try and align a business model to their wish list. Sometimes the clients wishes the sun, moon, and the stars, and sometimes
Yeah.
on the ground reality it's not possible to do all that. So my job as a consultant is to tell them, listen, what you're thinking, that's a vision. To translate that vision into reality, these are the things that we need to do. Some of them will be possible, some of them will not be possible. The reason why it's not possible is X, Y, Z, which means if they still choose to do it, it's their call. But at the end of the day, as a consultant, I bring my experience to the client's vision. And when you have a visionary who has got the resources to set up a restaurant and the expertise and the technical knowledge that comes from the consultant, I think that's the best match for the restaurant to take off.
So, in your opinion, do you think that, let's say, a restaurateur hires a food consultant to work with, the success ratio will be more in that case?
Uh, Unfortunately, I wish I could say yes. There is no clear cut success ratio for any restaurant. I mean,
Okay.
if somebody tells you that I can guarantee a restaurant success, he or she is lying. Uh, I always take this example. Restaurant industry or any restaurant for that matter is a high risk industry. If you go to the banks or financial institutions, they'll classify restaurants as high risk industry. I always tell my clients, it's like making a movie, right?
Yeah.
So you could have the best director, the best story, the best music, the best cast, and still the movie might not do well. And then there is off the mill movies, which have relatively unknown cast, unknown director, new star, new crew, and it
Yeah.
could just be a roaring success. Restaurant is pretty much like that. You could have the best location, the best menu, the best chef, and still not do well. And while a corner side shop, which is started very humbly, could really take off and become a multi-million dollar business.
Yeah.
So there is no clear-cut success story behind how why a restaurant could become successful or not. By hiring a consultant, you mitigate your risks to keep it a minimum, that you don't make the mistakes that you would otherwise make.
Yeah.
So a consultant would be able to guide you, tell you properly that this is the amount that you should be spending on X activity or X task, and this is what you should be spending on, let's say, marketing, or let's say on staffing or on the rent of the place for you to become a successful restaurant. And this is, and they help you guide, they basically handhold you through the process of setting up restaurants. There is various steps involved in setting up a restaurant, starting from a concept stage, that that idea that forms in your head, to the day it opens the doors to the first customer to walk in. It's a very step by step process. A consultant would be able to guide you through them, but can he assure the success of the restaurant? Nobody can. Unfortunately, it's usually market forces and a lot of luck.
Yeah.
But there is a basic DNA that if you follow and if you stick to those, there are some golden rules that you run a restaurant by. There are certain good practices that we all follow, and most of the cases, if you stick to that, a consultant will be able to guide you through those process. And if a client or a promoter sticks to that, the chances of failure are minimal. If you have taken into account various factors that uh, point or help towards or move you towards the success of a restaurant, those factors, if taken care of, chances of failure are minimum. But most of the restaurants fail because something or the other goes wrong. Somebody or the other makes a wrong decision. Otherwise, but then there are also market forces. Sometimes,
Yeah.
COVID comes and suddenly everything shut down.
Yeah.
So those are things you can't
We
avoid.
can't forget that one.
Yes, I can't. It was a very bad time for the industry.
Yeah. Talking about factors, what do you think are the important factors that ensures the success of a restaurant, let's say leads to the success of a restaurant?
So it's a very difficult question to answer. If you want to ask me very specifically what are the factors that makes a restaurant successful, there are many. Uh, I think the first and the most important is the level of investment that goes into a restaurant. I think it needs to be optimum, depending on the concept that you're going through. You could be a very fine dine restaurant, it needs a particular kind of investment. You could be a QSR restaurant, which is a quick service restaurant, it needs a certain kind of investment. So there are, the optimum investment is what you need to put into this concept. Sometimes if you overspend, then you're always going to chase after the sales, to get to your break even or your ROI. And if you underspend, maybe you're cutting corners somewhere, then your guest experience is suffering, or your staff is not taken care of, or your facilities are not equipped enough to be able to handle the kind of business requirements. So I think that optimum investment is factor number one. I think it's one of the most important things that one needs to look at. If you get into a business of restaurants, understand the business, look at the numbers, do the number crunching very carefully. Uh, it's obviously going to be based on certain assumptions, right? But putting the product into the market, looking at competition, looking at the location, the demographics, the society, I mean the spending power of the particular geographical location, your marketing strategies, all of them are equal reasons why a restaurant should or should not do well. But if I had to pick up one factor for a success of a restaurant, I would, without any hesitation, say the team, right? When I say the team, it starts from the very top, the promoters, the management, the mid management, and all the way down to the last person. If you get the right team to do this project, in my experience, I haven't seen a restaurant or a food outlet not succeed when they had the right team. So I think uh, a huge part of the restaurant success is because of the team that they employ, the right staff, the right training, the right retention policies, and the KRAs are well defined, they are well trained, they know what to do. There's no uncertainty in their demeanor, and then that translates into guest service and into your product delivery. So everything is dependent on the team. I feel if a restaurant has to be successful, I think it is well advised for most owners to focus on the team and take care of them. They are the ones who are going to make or break your restaurant.
Okay. So you were talking about restaurants like QSR, fine dining. So how many categories of food business are there?
Okay, there are many. If you have to see, Indian food landscape, the food industry landscape is very broadly divided into two: the organized sector and the unorganized sector. We are still in a society where a major part of our business is unorganized. The rediwalas, the chai walas in the corner, the thela walas. They are the unorganized sector, and they make. If I'm not wrong, my statistics says that about 53% of the business is in unorganized sector, the food sector. So we don't know. They're unorganized. There is no data that can support how much business that they do or what kind of business that they do. But in the organized sector, if you speak about the organized sector, which is I think about 47% of the food industry, there are multiple types of restaurants. Then we have something called a full service restaurants, which is a fine dining restaurant where there is a kitchen, there is a dine-in restaurants where you sit down. There's a full service that happens. There is somebody to take your order, somebody to serve you, somebody to clear your plates. It's what we call a full service restaurants. And the full service restaurants also might be part full service and part self service. When you go up to the counter, pick up your own food, but there is still somebody to clear your dirty plate stuff. So those are full service restaurants. Then we come to a category called QSRs, or quick service restaurants. These are usually, as the name suggests, quick service restaurant. They are not restaurants where you want the customers to sit for a very long time, like your McDonald's, your Burger Kings, Taco Bells, Pizza Huts. These are all quick service restaurants. That's the second category. Then you have the pubs and the bars and the breweries are the latest addition to this landscape right now. So these are mostly alcohol-based places. I'm not saying QSRs and full-service restaurants will not have alcohol, but the focus, the business model, when it revolves or centers around selling alcohol as the primary product, then you categorize them as pubs or bars. આજકાલ the current breed of bars and pub owners outdo even full service restaurants when it comes to food. It is one-upmanship in every project, right? So yes, it would be unfair to say they're just drinking holes or drinking places. They also do some fantastic food, but that's another category of the pubs, the bars and the breweries. Then we also have created, from the full service restaurant segment, we have also created something what we call cafes and the bistros. In India, and normally, we have all this very, very cute little cafes. Typically they're about 100-seater cafes. They could be various themed cafes, bakery cafes, music cafes. Hard Rock Cafe is not a cafe in the it's more in the but then, like I said, cafes are those are some the second segment.
Hard Rock Cafe would be like the pub section.
It's a pub section, yes. Then you have institutional food service restaurants, which means your banquet halls, your institutional catering places, your bulk cooking regions. These are again a very large segment of the food service industry.
It comes within the 47% you mentioned.
Yes.
Okay.
These are all organized sector, right? So 47% of our food industry is organized sector. I'm talking about that. We have data for that. And then you also have what we call cloud kitchens now, or dark kitchens, or ghost kitchens as they're called. These are kitchens that are not directly in contact with customers. They operate through aggregators or food delivery. Their business model is delivery. Instead of traditional restaurants where you expect the customers to come to you, here we are going to the customers, right? So it's again a very, very upcoming, fast coming trend. Ghost kitchens or cloud kitchens are in vogue. You could be located, you have the locational advantages, you could save cost and manpower, located in a very remote place where it might not be easy for the customers to reach you. But because you are in a facility, you could do multiple brands out of the same place, and the delivery, or the aggregators as we call them, they would come and pick up the food and deliver it to their customers. So that's another segment. Broadly speaking, they would also sometimes fall under the QSR segment. So basically, I think that's pretty much the various segments within the food service industry. The full service restaurants, the QSRs, the maybe the cloud kitchens, the bars and the pubs, and maybe institutional or bulk cooking. And the last category, before I forget, is the food processing industry. Now, these are big factories that processes food. Like, for example, Maggie is made in some factory somewhere,
Yeah.
right? So it's a food. Your rusks that you eat, the breads that you eat at home, they're just produced in bulk. They're huge. The namkeens that you eat, the Haldiram ke namkeens sab khate honge.
Yeah.
These are all food processing industries or food packaging industries.
True.
Food processing also has multiple other things when it comes to ingredient based processing units. There might be a tofu factory somewhere who's producing tofu. There might be a paneer factory somewhere. There might be any other wonton sheet factory.
Yeah.
So multiple of these food processing organizations also exist. So pretty much all of this fall under the organized sector, and they constitute about 47%. But we still have a 53% of the food that is being sold and bought in our society by the completely unorganized sector.
Wow, that's an amazing fact that
Oh,
I have come
yes.
across today. And given the fact that even the food processing part comes under the 47%.
Yes, yes, yes. Despite our organized industry being only 47% of the entire food business that happens in India, we are still one of the fastest growing food businesses in the world. Forget Asia. In the world, India is the fastest growing food business in the world. If my numbers are correct, I think there is something called an AAGR, which is average annual growth rate of the industry, is about 15% or more. So our industry is growing at the rate of 15% overall every year on year, which is I think remarkable. No other industry does that kind of a growth. I think it is one of those fastest growing industries within our economy right now.
As you mentioned about Cloud Kitchen, how do you think it's doing in India currently?
I think a few years back, cloud kitchens were in vogue because of the obvious advantages it brought into the business for the business owners. Uh, See, what really troubles business owners is the increasing costs, right? We're always at war with the input cost and the price that we're selling the food at. Your customers want food at cheaper prices every day.
Yeah.
Because of the competition, you're helpless. You sometimes have to reduce your prices, but your costs keeps going up all the time, right?
Right.
Your rents go up, your salaries go up. Your basic ingredient costs go up. Heat and light, the fuel goes up, the electricity goes up. Everything is going up daily.
Yeah.
But given the input costs, what happens is you're not able to sell the product, sell the food at the same rate of growth that your cost is going up
Right.
because of competition. What cloud kitchens does is it does away with a lot of cost. It gives you a lot of cost benefit. You don't need a very high street location where you have to pay maybe exorbitant rent. From one facility, you can manage multiple brands. Uh, Whatever you save there, you perhaps need to spend on marketing to begin with. But the touch points for customers are only two or three, right? They look at your logo and packaging, and you're in business. They don't need to know where you're operating out from. You could be operating out from a garage. You could be operating out from a very shady location, for example. I'm not saying all cloud kitchens are based out of shady locations. Don't get me wrong there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it doesn't matter to the customer, because at the end of the day, because of food aggregators like Swiggy and Zomato and Uber Eats and all those guys, what's happened is now, like I was saying, instead of restaurants trying to attract customers to their facility, we are going out to reach to the customers' homes. Our food is reaching their homes, their dining tables. The restaurant is coming to you instead of you going to the restaurant.
Right.
And that's how aggregators have helped the business. So cloud kitchens were in vogue. They said, A, the cost, there's low cost. B, from the same facility, I can operate multiple brands. So if one brand doesn't work, my other brand might take work. So
Yeah.
from the one same kitchen, I could be operating multiple brands. That's a huge advantage. All I need to do is have different logos and different packaging for different products. And the same manpower, the same set of staff could be cooking. I could have from the same, for example, like from the same cloud kitchen, I could have a burger chain. So there
Right.
is a team who's making burgers, and on the same cloud kitchen, I could also have a chart concept coming out. This couple of boys making chart for me,
Right.
or from the same kitchen, I could have a grilled chicken brand going out. So from the same facility, with very limited staff, I'm actually running three restaurants instead of one, with the same cost. So I have this huge advantage of reducing my input cost. At the same time, because of the aggregators and other things, I reach the customers. I get my business coming, which is why cloud kitchens did very well when we started. It was something of a big draw for most people. But I think as time progressed, the draw of the cloud kitchens also kind of reduced now. In my opinion, if you ask me, uh, too many people are getting into it. It is getting to a point where it is getting saturated, and quality is often sometimes compromised within a cloud kitchen setup.
Right.
And the aggregators, their charges have gone up substantially, and it kind of kills the business. 25-30% to the aggregator to be able to deliver the food, because of the platform that they offer you, a wider reach of audience that they offer you. They take their pound of flesh, and that kind of eats into your profit. So from the numbers that of cloud kitchen that used to exist maybe 2-3 years back, or around COVID or
Yeah.
pre-COVID, I think the numbers have rationalized now. It is still there. It is still something that attracts a lot of people. There are very, very examples of very, very successful cloud kitchens too. Of late, the number of cloud kitchens that had sprung up in between the last few years have shrunk now. This is what I have been seeing. It's my opinion.
Right.
I might be wrong here. I'm talking specifically of this within my experience and my knowledge.
Okay. What's the most significant change that you have seen over the past decade in the food industry?
So, answering that question, the most significant changes that I have seen in the food industry in the last 10 years, I think number one would be the use of technology and digitalization in the food industry. I think technology is everywhere and it's inevitable. Now there are increasingly number of softwares and gizmos that we use, where it was usually, the norm was human intervention. Now it is moving away from human intervention to machine doing our job for us. AI is now everywhere. We are using that very extensively in the food industry too. That is one of the most significant changes that I've seen in every aspect of food business. I think technology has a role, it has a place, and it makes things better. I'm completely pro technology. I think it's the way forward. It's the future. In every aspect of food, in packaging, the technology and for food packaging is changed so dramatically. Preservation of food, the chillers, the frozen food is become big now, worldwide. uh, and it's coming to India too. The warehousing, the softwares that are available to run restaurants, and to collect data, the numbers counting, these are one of the most significant changes that I've seen in the last 10 years. In terms of customers, I think the most significant change that I have seen, regardless of various cuisines or trends coming in and going, is that the awareness of the customer has really gone up when it comes to food. People are now well traveled. They are extremely well aware. Their food choices have changed. There is an increasing leaning towards healthy food, plant-based foods, veganism, vegetarianism, all of these things which were spoken about earlier. I have come to see that they make a significant impact in the restaurant or the food industry landscape of late. So that is another change that I've seen. What else? Yeah, the availability of ingredients. I think the world has become much smaller with again technology and transport systems becoming so amazing right now, that you know there were things that we had to import. There were ingredients that as chefs, we would say, oh, North Atlantic salmon will not be available. Only the best five-star hotels had access to it.
Yeah.
Now it's easily available everywhere. Japanese things, all these unique ingredients are available at your local stores. In fact, your local sabziwala would be carrying your avocados and the exotic vegetables that is become very commonplace now. It was not the case some years back. You really struggle to find great ingredients or certain ingredients. I can give you many examples here, but now I think even if I do a restaurant in a tier 2 city or a tier 3 city, in a smaller city, the ingredients are available, and most of the ingredients are sourced out from all over the world, and they're available. And that is one of the biggest changes that I've seen, and it has made food industry so much better for it, because the chefs can have access to those ingredients. The customers can enjoy those different cuisines in their most authentic form, because those ingredients might be sourced out of those countries and it's available locally.
Right.
So that is one of those biggest changes that I've seen in the last 10 years. uh, and I think one last thing I would say is the advent of costs, and people looking at food industry as career options, as business verticals. I think earlier also you used to have restaurants operating primarily as a second option, that no, I've got my main business is my, let's say, garment industry, or I'm into manufacturing, but I also own a small restaurant which is a side business or a side hustle.
Yeah.
I think from that side, I think increasingly it has become your mainstay. A lot of businesses are moving towards restaurant as their focal point, food industry as their main source of income, given the growth that we spoke about now, and the kind of numbers that a successful restaurant can bring in, the kind of returns that you get in. I think that has changed in the last 10 years. Finally, I think the kind of people that we are attracting now. Uh, 10 years back, I think, people looked down upon people working in the restaurant industry. There was no, I don't know, respect or education levels coming into the industry. I'm talking of, it was centered around only about the five-star hotels or maybe the bigger players. The smaller restaurants or the dhabas and other places where, people didn't really, uh, if you said you were worked in a particular restaurant, you were not looked at with the kind of respect that you get now. I think that has changed. People have realized that this is an industry which is growing. It has brought a lot of employment, a lot of good things it has done to the economy. So it's here to stay. And every day there is innovation happening in the industry, in the food business, in the food science business, in the food technology area. There's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of people working towards creating newer things and better things for the industry. And I think those are the industry has been taken more seriously now as a major player in terms of our economy, in terms of job generation, in terms of revenue generation and everything. So I think those are the changes I've seen in the last 10 years. I think I can't think of any more right now.
What trends are you seeing in the food industry, and how are businesses capitalizing on them?
These are the trends as we see right now, because the industry is moving at a very fast pace. It is growing exponentially. More and more people are eating out. More and more people are consuming these products. There are more players in the industry right now who are willing to get into business at this stage, and there are multiple trends that keeps coming. Like the fashion industry. There are trends that comes and goes. Food industry also has trends. A lot of something new comes and everybody wants a piece of it.
Yeah.
And then after a while it gets a little slow, then something else takes its place. So it's always that it's a very dynamic process. If I'm not wrong, the given this growth, the pace of growth that the industry is growing in, these trends and people have now started taking the industry extremely seriously, because I think I was reading somewhere that in the year 2023, which is last year, the Indian food industry was worth around, I think, 70 billion US dollars. That was, this might be this data that is of the organized sector that we spoke about. And in the next 5 years, this is year 2029, it's supposed to be more than double of that, maybe 125 billion US dollars. So that's the kind of growth that we're looking at the industry in the next 5 years. So I think a lot of this thing is because of people taking to the industry, the growth, the society, even the middle class, or the maybe the lower middle class, the culture of eating out and using restaurants have become very common now.
Yeah.
Earlier it used to be, once in a year kind of a thing कि अब anniversary है, birthday है, तो चलो बाहर खा लिया.
हाँ.
But now it's not the case. Even there is something for every segment of people. If my income is, let's say my family income is 20,000 rupees, I can still go out and eat. If my
Yeah.
income is 20 lakh rupees, I can still go out and eat. The restaurants might be different, but
Yeah.
the culture of eating out and the industry being able to support that is maybe one of the biggest things that we have seen in the last 10 odd years.
Okay. How do you help clients balance flavor, nutrition, and cost?
Yes, it's a very interesting question. Uh, my job as a food consultant is to advise my clients to the best of my ability so that their businesses can flourish. My own success is dependent on my client's success. If the restaurants that I set up for them does well, I get more business, and vice versa. If they don't do well, I'm also not doing too well, right? So in this process, my job is to advise them to the best of my ability. So when it comes to costs and flavors, like you said, or consistency of the product, we work very hard. The first step is to understand the client's wish list. When we start this journey with the client together, we try and understand the client's mind. What does he or she wants to do with the business? Where does she see the business growing? What is the vision of the person? And then we translate that vision into tangible products, right? We create this kitchen, we create the restaurant, we hire the staff, and then comes the process of standardizing every single thing, getting into recipes, the intensive training that goes behind the team so that they can deliver the same product every single time. So the cost is not completely related to this part. The cost aspect is taken care of at the time of conceptualization. We spoke about optimum investment into the project.
Right.
That is advised at the beginning. And once the project is up and running, my job is to make sure that whatever we have decided in terms of the deliverables, it is delivered to the best of my ability and consistently. And consistency is a word very easily spoken, but not very easily done, because we have staff who are not very loyal. Sometimes they leave. You've spent a lot of time on the training and on setting up a particular, let's say, talk of a recipe. You've worked very hard to get the recipe right, and then suddenly the staff leaves. There's
Yeah.
a new person in place. So my job is to make sure that all these recipes or all these systems that we set up for the restaurant are consistent, standardized, and not dependent on one person or people. It should be process driven. Everything should have checks and measures built into the system, so that in the eventuality that one person leaves, and somebody else comes in, it's easy for them to pick up and still be able to deliver in the same consistent manner that we had set it up. So that's the tougher part of my job. That's the more unglamorous part of the job, but it's a necessary thing to do. It is the most vital for the business. And like I said, my success is completely dependent on the client's success. So it's in my interest to get it as good as possible for the client and for myself as well.
What's the biggest operational challenges that we are facing as on today in food business?
Oh yes, the challenges, if you want to talk about, I think every business owner will give you a list of challenges that they face, and they're all true. But I think some of the more common ones, if I want to list them out, is the increasing costs. It's making businesses unviable. The commercial rents are shooting, skyrocketing. It becomes unviable for a business to operate from that kind of high rent, because the profitability is just not there. Staff, the manpower. Unfortunately, in this industry, what we see now is increasingly we're finding it difficult to find trained manpower, which is not the case 5-10 years back. I think in terms of remunerations, in terms of salaries, our industry has not been right up there. We still, I think, the lower level staff is underpaid and not consistently paid. There are irregularities there, which has made this large workforce of trained manpower that we used to attract earlier as the food industry move away from our industry and go into alternate industries that maybe BPOs, and there are many other things that have opened up. So we find that one of the biggest challenges right now for most restaurant owners. If you ask them, they will tell you that it's so difficult to a find trained manpower, and be able to retain them, because that's another challenge to be able to retain a customer. That's the third challenge, I would say. There is no loyalty. There is no brand loyalty anymore. Not from the staff for a particular work that they're doing. They would switch jobs very quickly. There is no loyalty. And similarly, I think for customers, earlier I think we had our favorite restaurants, and we would go there every time as a customer perspective too. Not anymore. Now there are new restaurants opening every single day, and there is, you a lot of restaurants don't enjoy customer loyalty also. That's also one of those challenges that we face.
Yeah.
Our laws and regulations regarding our industry keeps changing very randomly, and sometimes it really hurts our industry. That's one of the biggest challenges we face. If we had a consistent policy uh, countrywide, each state has their own policies when it comes to excise, when it comes to food safety, and there are multiple things that goes into setting up of a restaurant business or a food industry, a food business. And these laws and regulations that our country has, they're not consistent right through. The tax system is not consistent right through. So those are, technical problems that the industry faces as a challenge. But primarily, it's I think manpower and increasing costs that are the most important challenges that we face in the industry right now.
So, keeping these factors in mind, how do you help a client with their supply chain and logistics?
Like I said, in terms of supply chain and logistics, things have become actually easier. The technology and the availability of ingredients, the number of players in the market, the vendors, the big supermarkets, the warehousing, all the transport, all those areas have seen significant improvements over the years, and which have all helped our industry to be able to source out our supply chains, or establish our supply chains. The cold chains, the fresh supplies, they're all easily available through the year across multiple locations throughout the country. So that's actually one area that is improved. So managing logistics and supply chain is become actually easier compared to what it was a few years back. So that's one area which I think there has been significant improvement.
As on today, in today's time and age, if let's say a woman entrepreneur wants to start a business but has a certain budget, something like, let's say, 15 lakh rupees, without having to compromise on the quality, which kind of food business would you recommend?
See, 15 lakhs is a very small amount, but answering your question, there is no fixed answer to that question. It is not about the capital that the woman and entrepreneur would like to employ. The government aids women entrepreneurs, in a big way. The MSME, there are loans available. There are lots of facilities that the government has done really, significantly in the area of encouraging women entrepreneurs to come forward, and they have tax benefits. There are lots of benefits that they enjoy from the government. If you asked me, what would I recommend that they do? I do not have a single answer, honestly, because pretty much depends on what the lady wants to do, which market is she targeting, what target group is she targeting, what is her expertise, what is her vision. There's so many variables in this. I would not like to shove down a concept down her throat and say this is what you should be doing. That would be wrong.
I mean, I meant in a way where, let's say, we can have a small coffee shop or a small bakery. Do you think that this 15 lakh rupees, in 15 lakh rupees, one can open
a bakery in, let's say, 5 lakh rupees, and sometimes even 5 crores might not be enough. It depends on what you want to do, right? Honestly,
Yeah,
and the
but
scale that
given my budget is 15 lakh.
it is. Yes, it is. If you ask me if it can be done, yes, it can be done. Right? We will have to, like I said, when that optimum investment is not there, we will have to cut some corners.
Yeah.
And maybe in terms of location, maybe in terms of equipment, maybe in terms of the scale to which he or she can do this business. But yes, 15 lakh rupees, if somebody wants to open a small cafe or a bakery, it's possible.
It's possible. Okay. So, talking about the statistics in India, 12 out of 20 restaurants are failing. Why do you think is the reason of this kind of a failure?
Again, it's very difficult to answer exact reasons unless I know the particular restaurant we're talking about. And I know there are multiple reasons for the restaurant not to do well. But I think most restaurants, like I was telling us earlier, that there is a certain DNA that you conform to. In terms of investment, in terms of the product, what are we selling? Who are we selling it to? What price are we selling it at? Who is how are we selling it in? These are many questions that needs to be answered before you get into the restaurant. A lot of times people get into restaurants for the wrong reason. Sometimes it's a hobby project. They're not very serious about making the restaurant successful. I mean, I'm not saying that people want the restaurants to fail, but they're not. I sometimes see a lack of seriousness in some entrepreneurs that I work with who have got into restaurants. They do it as a hobby, or they do it as chalo kuch paise pade, let's do this. Or they've seen somebody doing well and says, oh, if he can do it, I can also do it too. Those are wrong reasons to get into restaurants. And then there are other reasons that I don't want to get into right now, which are illegal at sometimes. In terms of generating or rerouting finances which are not accounted for.
Yeah.
But there are multiple reasons why restaurants fail. And unless we talk about a particular restaurant and why it has failed, there would be very clear answers why it has failed. Mostly it is about not being able to position the restaurant correctly in the market that it exists, and being able to understand what your customer requires and how you have done business. Most of the time, that is where people go wrong.
Okay. Which international cuisines do you think will gain popularity in India?
Okay, that's an interesting question again, because we have pretty much every kind of cuisines that's available in India right now. And we see trends coming and going. A few years back, I think Thai cuisine was the big thing, and then Italian cuisine came and reinvented itself now with your new range of Neapolitan pizzas and stuff which are trending. I think Japanese cuisine had a big draw for a very, very long time. And
I think Japanese still has.
they all coexist.
Yeah.
Even Thai cuisine is still around. Italian cuisine is still around. But I think a lot of Mexican cuisine, for example. But if you ask me, which are the two most interesting cuisines currently that I see potential or I see growth, I would say Korean food. Of late, I think Korean food has become one of those. It's starting to gain traction, starting to gain momentum. People are uh, getting aware of Korean food, and from Chinese they move to Korean now. And Turkish food, Middle Eastern food is also growing in a very, very big way. Greek, Turkey, that region has some fantastic food, and it is coming back in trend. Even lesser known countries, so I've had restaurants from Hawaiian cuisine, Polynesian cuisine. We know very little about these cuisines, but there are people who have come back and tried to open a restaurant for that particular cuisine. And very, very regional cuisines have also taken up a major part of our restaurant landscape. And I think these are all very, very exciting trends that we as a consultant team, we'd like to stay on top of things and understand what's happening. If a particular new cuisine or something comes up in the industry, we get super excited about it. We look at the response. How is the people taking to it? How are the clients taking to it? How have they done it? It's a very exciting or interesting times for us. But I do think Turkish and Korean food is the two cuisines that I can think of right now that's perhaps going to get more prominence in the coming times.
Talking about the authenticity, what do you prefer? Like, there is a lot of Indian tarka in all these international cuisines that's added.
Yeah.
it's customized according to the Indian taste these days.
Yes.
Do you think one should maintain the authenticity, or do you think we should put that Indian tarka?
I think your business model would. It's a very difficult question to answer, honestly, because as a chef, I would. I don't know. I've done most of those things that you talk about. Also, we have done
Yeah.
fusion food. Also, we have done the Indianization of. We call it bastardization of the cuisine, but we have done that also. Commercial interests, I think, supersedes. Your own personal likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
As a chef, I would like to keep it as authentic as possible, as pure as possible. Sometimes there is not enough commercial value in something that is very, very authentic, and we need to give it that little bit of twist to make it more marketable, make it more market friendly, make it more customer friendly, to be able to sell it to a population. So those are market forces that kind of twist your arm around and get you to do those things. If you ask me, do I agree with it? I don't. But if you ask me, is it something that I would do? I might. It's something that's the business required. It's something that our restaurants would require to survive. And at the end of the day, we are in the business of setting up commercially successful businesses. So our personal likes and dislikes should take a backseat and do what commercial success would demand of us. I think that's the answer. I know
Yeah.
it's not a very clear cut answer, but that's the best I can give you.
What are the challenges of Indian food brands operating outside India? Let's say, for example, there was Priyanka Chopra's restaurant Sona in New York. It shut down. Just giving an example. So, what challenges do our Indian cuisine face abroad?
I don't think there would be many challenges, because I think our market, Indian market, is far more challenging than any other foreign markets that I've seen or experienced.
Mm.
But I think it's pretty much to do with the work culture, the kind of people that we employ, the loyalty, the diligence towards work, and I think in India we're spoiled. We're spoiled for choices because we have labor is easily available. Uh, we we have people. I mean, not when I say labor is easily available, I'm saying you could hire people, and to do your dirty work.
Yeah.
Overseas, a lot of the labor is extremely expensive, and we're quickly reaching that stage where labor is going to be expensive in our, not yet, but yes, comparatively, labor is very expensive overseas. So the way we operate our businesses here, we can't exactly pick it up and copy and put it out there, because that wouldn't make sense. We will have to follow the work culture that exists overseas. Uh, and I think maybe that's where the challenges might come in. Otherwise, I don't think Indian or homegrown brands would find it difficult to operate or find success overseas. Why it doesn't happen is purely because I think the markets are different, the cost structures are different, the customer expectations are different, and if you just pluck it out of Indian market and put it into a different market, it needs that adjustment to be able to be successful in that particular market. I think that's the only reason. I don't think there is any other reason why we can't succeed overseas. I think we are very, very diligent people, and we're very, very innovative people and very resourceful, and we're as Indians, I think uh, we are perhaps the best equipped to find success in very adverse conditions too. So I don't think there is any reason why we can't do well overseas.
How do you incorporate global flavors and trends into your consulting work?
Yes. So for us, the most important thing, when as consultants, as food consultant, or as subject matter experts in this area, it is extremely, extremely important for us to keep ourselves updated with whatever is happening worldwide, globally. So we travel extensively.
Okay.
We go to food fairs. We do a lot of we meet. We have exchanges with multiple chefs that are traveling to India. We work together on multiple projects. We have support groups and forums wherein we interact. conferences, and a lot of exchanges happens within this community of people. We also meet fellow consultants. We have long discussions about what's happening, and then it's very important to keep ourselves updated about what's happening wherever, and that is the knowledge we try and translate into a project. When we do every new project, we want to get the best practices that's happening everywhere else and employ that into the project, to make it more successful. So global trends is something, global taste, global various things that is happening new. Maybe there's something new happening in New York, and we will know about it. We'll find out about it. We will talk about it and see if we can replicate that in the country. And that's how the transfer of knowledge happens. And within this community of consultants and chefs, we have very close knit, community where exchanges happen very often. We collaborate on multiple projects with various other consultants from other countries and states, and that helps us, generally know about what's happening. We don't claim to know everything, what's happening everywhere, but most of the things that is happening around. And in this digital world, in the times with YouTubes and the reels and everything, the world has become much smaller. You can at your fingertips, you can see what's happening anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So if you follow the right people, and it becomes very easy for you to gain that knowledge.
Okay. And lastly, can you shed some light on the project that you're working on?
I'm working on multiple projects at this moment, but some of them are very, very mainstream, restaurants that doesn't excite me too much. I get super excited with the newer concept or creation of a new concept. In the same tone, right now we're coming up with a burger brand called the Burger Cartel, and in this highly populated segment of burger companies in this in Delhi NCR, I think conceptually it's excited me because we're coming up with a range of really really handcrafted curated burgers that have a gourmet angle to it. Plus, it is for the masses. It is not very classy. It is at affordable prices. Value for money proposition comes out of freshest ingredients that we can come up with. It's a concept that has really got me excited. That I'm working on right now. We are coming up with multiple stores soon, and I can't wait for it to open up because and see how the customers, the burger customers, the landscape of burger customers are going to accept it and take to it. I have no doubt that's going to be a resounding success.
So when does it open? I can't wait to try.
Hopefully, as soon as we can get the things going. We are still in the process of finalizing multiple things happening at multiple fronts. But maybe in the next couple of months, maybe around Diwali is when you'll see Burger Cartel open its door for our customers. And it's something that I'm very excited about. It's some exciting developments coming up in the burger scene for sure.
So I have a quick rapid fire round for you,
Okay.
which helps us to know you better and also about the industry better.
Okay. Shoot.
So favorite cuisine,
Oriental.
go to comfort food,
Biryani.
best cooking technique, grilling, roasting, sauteing,
Roasting any day.
worst cooking mistake.
Oh, there are many. There are so many I can't recollect anything. You're talking about me, my mistakes.
All right, the worst cooking mistake you might have done in your consulting experience.
I'm not going to incriminate myself here. Sorry.
Or maybe let's just stop this question.
Sorry.
Yeah. I know. No, by
गलतियां तो नहीं बताने वाला मैं आपको.
चलो ठीक है. Favorite ingredient.
Oh, favorite ingredient. It has to be salt and pepper because that's the balance of salt and pepper. I think in any cuisine, you talk of any cuisine, if you got the salt and pepper balance right, you have taste. Otherwise,
Oh.
no matter what you do, I think salt and pepper is my favorite ingredients.
Most overrated food trend.
Avocado toast.
Underrated food trend.
I need time to think. These rapid fires are difficult to answer.
You
I
can take
can't-
your time.
I can't think
You
of
have 1 minute. Underrated food gems that should be a trend.
millets.
Millets?
Yes.
Oh,
In fact, the government is promoting millets in a big way, and I think they're very, very good. And I don't think people understand the value yet.
yeah. I have heard about millets.
Yeah.
It's
It
really
is the year of the millet
healthy.
this year.
It's healthy.
Extremely and so easy to cook. Very good for everybody, for health
But do you
wise.
think millets will it's a good idea to sell?
Of course, we should. It should become mainstream.
Oh.
We produce so much millets in the country, so many types of them, and I think it's one of our local foods but we should promote it in a big way. I think I'm completely for millets.
Okay. Favorite food memory?
Oh, it's a long story. I've had the most amazing food in the most disgusting locations in the world. There was this guy seated on a couple of bricks, had a small barbecue, and he was cooking some meat on charcoal. It was next to a nala, with dirty nala, with dogs lying around there and flies. And I have never had better kebabs in my life.
Oh, wow.
It was one of those
Where
things
was this?
This was in Punjab, I think Jalandhar.
Okay. Best food city?
I would say Delhi, but Kolkata and Indore are close seconds.
Dream dinner guest, dead or alive?
Dream dinner guest. Who would I want to have dinner with?
Dead or alive? I've made it easier for you.
Pablo Escobar?
Pablo Escobar it is.
Yeah.
Weirdest food combination you've come across?
Maggie and bread. I have had somebody eat Maggie between two slices of bread, and I was totally disgusted. I said, that's something that I couldn't stomach.
Okay, go to restaurant type.
I prefer Oriental food, so it's easy, it's fresh, it's quickly, it comes out. It's the method of cooking is stir fry, so I enjoy that. In terms of flavors, I think that's the cuisine. If I had to go to a restaurant, it's usually I gravitate towards Oriental food.
Okay, real Chinese or Indo-Chinese?
Real Chinese, please.
A guilty pleasure meal?
Ice creams.
Oh, preferred cuisine: South Indian or North Indian?
South Indian.
Future of plant-based food in India: yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shibu, for sharing your valuable insights on the food industry. And I'm sure our viewers are going to take away a lot of aspects that one can probably learn from a restaurant owner, but the on-ground reality that you have shown us, it was really important to know. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me over here.
Okay, thank you. What? I just forgot your surname.
I'm P Shibu. That's it.
P Shibu?
Yeah.
Okay. ठीक है? Audio perfect है?
DJ करना चाहिए मेरे को. RJ.
Taking a break.
You could have also considered sweet shops. Those are also very.
हाँ, sweet shops भी है. Yeah, halwais, sweet shops, desserts. Shops
तो
है.
ये 53 या 47 में किस में?
47 में आएगा. These are all. But then बहुत सारे स्वीट शॉप्स गलियों में होते हैं.
जी बिल्कुल.
ये सब रिकॉर्ड करते रहना वो बिहाइंड द सीन्स के लिए. Your laugh is going to come in the background.
अच्छा, let's start again then.
मैंने बिहाइंड द सीन्स बोल दिया भाई. बियॉन्ड द स्क्रीन को मैंने बियॉन्ड ना भी. यार ये लाइन इतनी ज्यादा क्रेजी है. इतना इंग्लिश है इसमें, याद ही नहीं रह रहा.